Hi, I'm Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube, and to celebrate our brand new cross-stitch alphabet pattern, we put together this great on-the-go bag. So pick up your alphabet and let's make a bag. Here's what you need to make your bag. The cross-stitch alphabet pattern from Fat Quarter Shop, so you can stitch it on your Aida cloth, and you can follow our video on how to graph this out using the chart. You will also need floss to stitch it. We're going to use a 24-inch zipper, friction pin, wonder clips, soft and stable, 50 weight RFL thread for piecing your bag. And for the fabric, you can use 4 assorted fat quarters for the exterior and a half yard for the interior. Some of the pieces you could get away with less than a fat quarter, but we just started with fat quarters for fun. For our bag, we're going to cut this down to 6.5 by 12.5 inches wide. What I'm going to do is find the center just by creasing it. Just fold it in half, crease it. This needs to be 6.5. So you need 3.25 this way and 3.25 this way. Now I'm going to draw lines with the friction pin on the top and the bottom, because I always think it's great to double check before you cut your cross stitch piece. Friction pin will disappear with heat later, so if you make a mistake, it'll come out. And so I'm gonna look and I'm gonna count my squares here and here to see if we're even. So that's 12 squares. And that's 12 squares. So I've checked my math. I'm going to put my ruler back down and cut. And now we need to be 12.5 inches this way. So again, I'm going to fold in half. I'm going to put these little lines, and that's the center. And we need to measure 6.25 this way and 6.25 this way, because that equals 12.5 inches wide. So I'm going to put my ruler, here's my fold, and I'm going to put 6.25 right there. On that center crease. And we're going to cut 6.25 on the center crease. I'm going to turn it around. Line it up with 12.5 inches on my ruler and cut. And now you have your monogram piece ready to put in your bag. From your 4 assorted fat quarters, you're going to use 3 of those for the front. The top strip you will cut 3.5 by 12.5. The thin strip you will cut 1.5 by 12.5. And the bottom strip 2.5 by 12.5. So now we're going to stitch all of these pieces together. The first step is you take your fabric, put it right sides together, and since this is Aida cloth, I'm going to use wonder clips. And you just clip it on, and the reason I do this is I don't want the pin to poke the Aida fabric and put a hole in it. And then from there, I'm going to place this one on here. I'm going to place the thin strip right sides together at the bottom, use wonder clips, and then we will go to the sewing machine. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch foot, and I'm going to stitch down this seam and this seam. Now we stitch with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to put my iron and set my seam on top of my fabric, not in my Aida cloth, on the top and the bottom. Setting your seam will lock in your stitches so that when you press away, you're going to get a nice flat seam. So I'm going to finger press these. I'm going to place this iron right on here, right on the edge. Do the same thing on the other side. Super easy. If you don't want to touch your iron on your cross stitch fabric, you can kind of lift your iron up a little bit. I don't mind it though. And now we're going to add the bottom strip. So for the bottom strip, I'm going to also use a 1/4 inch seam, but I'm going to use pins to hold my fabric in place. You can either use pins or wonder clips. I'll stitch that line and be right back. So on the bottom, you can press the bottom strip either direction. I'm just going to do it this way, and then we're going to move to our next step. Now we've got our top piece, and we have a soft and stable that we have cut 12.5 inches square. And remember, all of the items that we have used in this video are linked in the description box if you want to know more about the products we have used. I am going to use some wonder clips just to keep this together. And then we're going to do some accent quilting. You can do as little or as much quilting as you would like, and I'm going to show you now how I'm going to do mine. I'm going to do some simple straight line quilting with a 3.0 stitch length. I am going to use the edge of my foot as my guide, and I'm going to just stitch on the side of a couple of our seams, and I'll show you when we're done how it looks. Now I will flip this over and do the other side and use the foot as a guide. I just leave it right on that seam. And now I'm going to also do these sections. So here's how my quilting looks. I've got 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you want to quilt some more, you can. I think this is plenty. Now for the back, you're going to do something very similar. You're going to take your remaining fat quarter and cut a 12.5-inch square. You're going to put that on top of a 12.5-inch square of soft and stable, and we did simple straight line quilting, and we put cross hatches about 2 inches apart, and it looks great. So now we have our front and back complete. Now we're going to make our zipper tab, which is going to look like this. You're going to take your fabric that was used on your top strip and cut 2 rectangles that are 1.5 by 2. To make the zipper tabs, you're going to put the wrong sides together in half once, press, let it cool, and then you're going to open that up and fold to the center again. So one center, and you fold that in half. So that's one tab, and you're going to do the same thing to make the second tab. Now we're going to finish our zipper by adding our zipper tabs. I'm working with a 24-inch by Annie zipper, and this is made of nylon so you can cut through it. So this would not work with a metal zipper. So I'm just going to cut at the end. First I'm just going to cut one end off. I'm going to turn it around, and we need it to be 12 inches. So I'm going to use the lines on my ruler. But first, I'm going to open my zipper. And then we're going to count on our mat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we're going to cut. And I'm just going to cut using the lines on the mat, and then you just put your zipper tab. You use it, put the little fold, the little opening you made, and you just put your little zipper in there, and you can put wonder clips on the end to keep it in place. So do one end, so by adding the zipper tabs, it's going to make it fit the bag. And now we're going to go to our sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch right here, right on the edge to keep it in place, and I'll be right back. We're going to trim off these little edges because you don't need those, and you can just eyeball it. From your half yard piece, you're going to cut 2 12.5-inch squares, which is going to be your interior. You're going to take the front of your bag right side up. You're going to put your zipper. First, you want to think about the direction. Do you want to open it this way when you open your bag if you're right-handed, or do you want it to go this way if you're left-handed? So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to leave my zipper open, and I'm going to put it right sides together, and I'm going to leave an equal amount of space on the left and the right. It should not be all the way to the end, so that is correct. From there, you're going to place one lining square right side down. It's going to look like this, and we're going to wonder clip it down, and then I'm going to show you how you stitch it together and give you some tips. What is important is that you leave this zipper pulled down partly. I'm going to use approximately a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm just going to use the little seam guide that's right here on my plate. Just going to stitch. When you get close to the zipper pull, which is right here, you're going to see that it's bumpy. So you want to zip the zipper back up. And now you have your zipper back at the beginning and you don't have a puff, and you can just keep stitching. It's going to make it a lot easier because it keeps the zipper pull out of the way. Now we're going to flip the white fabric to the inside, which is going to be the interior of your bag, and this is your exterior. And you're just going to lay this really nice and flat, and you just want to press it down right here. That's going to just fold the soft and stable nice and flat. Then I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the edge just to keep that all in place, and I'll be right back. So here's my decorative stitch, and you can see my zipper is getting a little wavy, and that's okay. That's called Kimberly Bag Making 101. So you're going to place your backing fabric right side up. So you've got your soft and stable on the back. You're going to place the top of your bag right side down. You can kind of move the zipper because you're going to do that same technique here when you're putting it together. Then you're going to put your other lining right side down, and we're going to clip that in place and then stitch a 1/4 inch away from the edge and be right back. I have my top stitch done. I'm going to flip the bag over, press this down the same way we did previously so it's nice and flat. Top stitch here, and we'll be right back. Okay, just stitched this. So the most important part of this video is to open this zipper. If you don't open it, you can't open your bag, and you'll just have a closed bag. Place your outsides together and place your linings together. You're going to line this up, and you want your zipper tab facing your lining. Pin in place. Do the same thing on the other side. Zipper pull towards the lining. And just have these lined up right here. I'm going to use Wonder clips to clip this side of the bag that has soft and stable on it. On this side, I'm going to just use regular pins. Leaving an 8-inch opening. You're going to start stitching, back stitch, stitch all the way around. When you get here, you want to make sure you don't stitch on top of your zipper pull. Stitch all the way down, pivot, stitch, just using a 1/4 inch seam, and back stitch right here. Just make sure over here you don't stitch on top of the zipper pulls. I'm going to lower my stitch length to about a 2.0. Stop about a 1/4 inch away from the edge and pivot. When you get to this intersection, there's going to be a lot of bulk, so just go really slow and keep it at a 1/4 inch seam. We're going to leave the 8-inch opening and we're going to backstitch. Now to reduce the bulk on the side that has all of the soft and stable, I'm going to cut a triangle. You want to cut it to the stitches but not too close, and just don't cut through your stitches. And now we're going to turn the bag right side out. And first I'll turn and do this corner. I use my fingers most of the time because anytime I use a point turner, I usually put a hole in the fabric, so finger works just fine. And this is why you left your zipper open, so that it will keep turning. And I'm just going to use my finger and just grab it and pull it all the way through. And here I'm just using my fingers to push this out. And then here, you're going to just put your fabrics together, press a little bit, pin it in place, and we're going to top stitch this down. I'm going to just stitch really close to the edge so that it will close. This bag is perfect for fitting your cross-stitch alphabet pattern, your bitty board, all your floss, and your fabric you're gonna stitch with, and it's perfect on-the-go travel bag. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and I'll see you next time with another cross-stitch alphabet project.